Welcome to Important Shift Podcast with Sarah
and Taryn, where we cover social issues, politics, popular culture, spirituality,
and basically anything and everything in between.
So let's get to it.
Let's get to it. Woo! It's our first episode, and it's something that we've been thinking about doing for a while. So we'll just start with a little bit of bios and kind of what our intention is for this podcast and for our listeners.
First, we should say we are married. So we are actually
common law marriage,
but we're in a threesome marriage with each other and our husband, and we've been together for 15 years? 16 years. I'm terrible with dates. Sarah's very good with dates. We'll find that as we move along.
So yeah, Taryn and her husband now, but was fiance, were together for 4 years when we first met. And this was supposed to be a temporary thing where we were dating and I was their girlfriend. And
we were young and living in Hollywood at the time.
And Taryn and I danced together. That's how we met. Our husband was actually in the show that we were in, and Taryn was the choreographer, and I was hired as the dancer. And so we've danced in Hollywood, in West Hollywood, downtown LA, and for various shows. Taryn owned a dance company called M Theory Dance Company. I was going to call it M Theory Space.
Yeah, M Theory Dance Company, and then we named our channel and sort of what we were intending to do from the dance company. We called it M Theory Space, so more like a space where people can come together and do all kinds of things, play music, dance, meditate. So we had some plans for that, and then I actually had an illness happen about 10 years ago now.
Yeah, Taryn got sick while the dance company was still active. We had just done a show for a dance festival in Symbiosis, and shortly thereafter, and as the company was growing and expanding and the word was getting out, and she was about to brink on, doing bigger shows and festivals, and she started showing symptoms on her skin of rashes and sorts, and not to go into grave detail, we can save that for another episode. But yeah, we had to take her to numerous different doctors and specialists, and it's a chronic illness that she's still suffering from, that impacts her daily life.
And I almost died a number of times. Anyone who has had any kind of chronic autoimmune situation that the doctors can't figure out, which is quite a lot of people these days, will understand some of this experience. That's quite frustrating when something is wrong and it's very wrong, and they just either aren't interested in helping or really don't have the tools to do anything. So we've been dealing with it on our own for just about 10 years, and I'm
sage.
Still here.
Yeah, sorry. She's still here. Yeah, if you hear that weird sound, I'm lighting sage, and we have crystal bowls and rain sticks, and Taryn has a beautiful hand pan. But if you hear some sounds in the background, we'll be doing that throughout the show.
We're also sitting at Hermosa Beach right now, and we've got a large group of people playing what looks like touch football on the beach. So if you hear some cheering in the background, that's not for us. That's the the crowd of people playing football. So,
but yeah, so just to go on,
they just cheered.
They cheered. They heard you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were contemplating what so after Taryn got sick and she lived through this, where it was many crazy, horrific nights where she didn't know if she was going to make it through the night, and now she's come out through the other side of it. We she doesn't have enough energy to dance the way we were dancing. So we hula hoop and we do things, but we talk about ascension and about I guess you would call it politics, really, but it's ascension. And we figured, why don't we wanted to share this information about what Taryn's been through, and then I can go into a little bit about my background and what I've been through. So I was a victim of pedophilia and incest and sexual abuse, as well as other things.
As if that's not enough.
Yeah. the gaslighting and the emotional abuse has been the struggle. That's the tricky part to get through. I've been through numerous kinds of therapies and talk therapies and journals and journals of writing and burning the journals to clear it. And Taryn was a Reiki master, certified in 2004, so she certified me. We were practicing Reiki since we've met, really, but really kind of got into it and dove deep into the astral realms and all that kind of ethereal stuff, and maybe like 2011, 2012.
We did a lot of our clearing and work on Sarah's initial traumas in the beginning of our relationship, because anyone that's been through anything like that knows you have to do that kind of work. You have to clear that and do the deep spiritual, energetic, emotional work before you can have a healthy relationship with anybody. So that was one of the things that we really committed to doing in the beginning, was doing all of that work. And our husband is really good at that. He's very good at doing the psychological work and emotional, energetic clearings and things. So
it's a lot of like triggers, like things that you get triggered, finding out that you're triggered, and then figuring out how to change that reaction to the trigger. So you kind of have to slow down time, and it was very well, which I think we'll dive into in another episode. But just so basically from that journey, I was writing a lot, and I started writing songs, which I always wanted to sing, and I was a dancer, but I didn't really know I had the ability to write songs. But I think through the journaling and the way of expressing my thoughts that were trapped in my head, was able to get it out. And so I make music, and I sing, and I think and the healing component and merging those is kind of where I'm at now, with crystal singing bowls, and I call it tonic toning. So I do tones with healing, transformative sounds with the singing bowls and into the body, and found a passion with that. And so we're just here, sharing our journey, and want to share a bit about how we see the world and what's going on. And I think that there's a lot of things happening in the world, and not a lot of people are talking about it. But yeah, go ahead.
Also, in the last year, I had reemerged into doing some energy work, and I got Beyond Quantum Healing certified, BQH, which is a technique that Candace Craw Goldman created from the QHHT technique, which some of you might have heard of from Dolores Cannon. And it's a beautiful, deep hypnosis state where people can investigate their past lives, their future lives, their talk to their high self, and to ancestors or people that have passed, or beings, or galactic energies. And so this was something that I was doing, and in the most recent development of this was that I was working on my husband, and I was spontaneously began to do some channeling. So that's the new iteration of where we're at with the healing work on my side, is that I'm now doing some channeling work. So that's been really cool, and you probably have seen some of those videos up on our page. if not, you can check out Sarah's music and our videos on our M Theory Space pages.
Yeah, so it's an exciting time, and I think, all the, and I don't like to get too much into like the healing aspect, because there's something about when you're healing that you're focusing your energy and your focus on something that's broken. So I think if there's a different word for it, but it's like we're opening up and blossoming into a new era of healers and transformative workers.
Transmutation.
It's the new age of the transmutation workers.
I mean, you could just say energy, I guess, energy work.
Yeah, and there's so many ways that you can process your trauma, whatever kind of energy body it's trapped in, if it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and astral. And I think all of us have attachments in our spiritual and astral bodies. And they attack us in, whatever way they can maneuver their way into. And, just how the world is today, the mental and emotional bodies on the planet are all just stuck and suffering. And it's just really, I think there's going to be an evolution of different kinds of ways to heal those. If you want to have a channeling session, or if you want to
do a sound
bath, or one of our friends does cuddle sessions, so you don't just have to do this talk therapy, which I know it doesn't work for everybody, so it's kind of wonderful that there's different ways that you can go, or take ayahuasca and do a journey
right
there, if you want to have still kind of embrace it feels like a party scene to me. I think some people might think it's not like partying, but I think some people use it to party. But
that is an interesting topic too, that we can do in another episode, of how psychedelics can work to help heal trauma, or how they can also add to the trauma if they're not done carefully. And
it's like, just be honest with yourself. If you want to take it to get fucked up, then that's what you're doing.
But there are a
we didn't take
there
them
are
today,
a lot of there's dolphins out there. Hi, dolphins. They come and visit us a lot when we do cool things on the beach. There's a lot of people in this spiritual, metaphysical community that we kind of refer to as the false light group, and that is something that I think is going to be increasingly, something that people really are starting to gather their discernment about them, especially as we're going through all of this shifting with politics and world dynamics and all of this. There's also, a real need for discernment in this community, because there are a lot of people that are operating in areas that they don't necessarily have a lot of understanding of. And I think the fourth dimensional space is one of those areas that we're very new at exploring. And obviously there's some people who've been doing this a lot longer, than others, but it is it's a space that we have to learn about. It's kind of like we're toddlers running around in a new playground. We don't really know all of the
and when you do protections, they don't always work. And that was something that I've experienced in some of the demonic entities that had attachments on me, which we actually could see. They were so strong. And there was numerous different types of protective mantras I tried, until you find one that actually works. And then you think you'd say it and you think you're protected, but you're not. And then they trick you, and then they attack you in a different way. And it's a very trickster, manipulative evil that people think that you're channeling this positive light, and really you end up spewing emotional abuse. And I would say, I only allow vibrations from the fifth dimension and above. And I would say it like 10 times, and really try to feel into it and feel the protection. We would go about doing something, and then all of a sudden I'm like, maybe not channeling demons, but it was something like it was dark energy coming in. I was like, okay, that didn't work. Or I only allow service to others vibrations. I do not allow service to self. And we writing it down, and it's insane the fact that you could say that and it doesn't work. And I hope we're in a time where it does work now, but I don't know if that's true.
Well, and I think we're, as we're transitioning from the third dimensional space to the fourth dimension and moving hopefully quickly up to the fifth dimensional energies, we're starting to see that fourth dimensional stuff be more clear and loud on the planet. So now, the trickster energy is not only in the fourth dimension or hiding in the third, but it's presenting itself in the third dimension. So I think as we're kind of moving through this fourth dimensional energy, we're starting to see how the demonic and gremlin kind of energies work, where they attack you when you're down, and they attack the weak ones, and they trick you when you think you're going in the right direction. They easily and gently lead you off into the wrong direction. So these are all things that we're learning how to navigate. And
it's like, and I think there's a responsibility in there there's a responsibility to yourself, so you can't blame other energies or entities for your participation. But the fact is that the big divide that we're experiencing on the planet right now. I was just out working in a campaign and talking to a lot of people, and everyone is
go Trump.
Yes. We're very excited that and so the funny thing is we're in a threesome marriage, and we are pro-Trump, and we are a lot of our ideas are conservative ideas, which is kind of interesting, but it's
hysterical.
And I was never political for a long time. I didn't know who to trust. I didn't know who to believe. I felt like everybody was lying. I even got annoyed with the news, and this was 2009, 2010. I'm like, turn that off.
Well, you were onto something, that's for sure.
But it was like, I don't, why are you watching that shit? It's like, they were all lying, and you could feel the bullshit.
And I thought I was a Democrat until Trump showed up, and then I started listening to him, and I was like, I'm kind of into whatever he's talking about right now, because his energy felt right to me. His energy felt truthful and grounded, and like Sarah was saying, most politicians don't feel that way. Mm-hmm. They feel like trickster energy and liars.
And we do believe that he's gonna
actors.
Yeah, he's gonna unite the people, and a lot of people don't know how that's going to happen. They don't think that's true. They think he's a Nazi. They think he's gonna cause chaos, more chaos that we're in, and it's like, and we're here to answer any questions if you have with that. But I think with the thing is, the divide was constructed to get people fighting against each other. So you're looking the other way so they could do something while you're focused on fighting each other.
So why do they're not here?
Why do they want us fighting each other? Even about topics, and big topics, like the biggest thing are abortion, or the trans movement. Those were very big topics that people are very scared about. And it's like, you don't have to be scared, and you can have different. And the brilliant thing with with when the Constitution was started, and with what they wanted for the American people, is if you had two different perspectives, you could come together, and there's a process where you could have where you could vote and come to a compromise decision on how we need to handle this. And I think with the Taryn and I were talking with the trans stuff. Do you want to go into that?
Well, we can talk about that, but I just wanted to say about, with the abortion, it's like, it's a topic that is so polarizing, because people that have one view or the other are so far apart that compromise seems impossible. If you believe life begins at conception and that abortion is murder, as we tend to sort of fall into that category more, And we didn't always. When we were younger, we didn't think about it like that.
When we talked about it, we would have definitely gotten an abortion if, we were, if Taryn and I got pregnant 10 years ago.
I wasn't raised religious. I never really considered it, but once I got into energy work and started really learning about the soul and the spirit and other dimensions, and when a spirit comes into a body, and
what that means,
and when you really consider that,
maybe having near-death experiences, maybe that brings you kind of a closer understanding that some people can't understand. And it's the soul is I do believe that the soul starts braiding in at conception, and I don't think it's like I think it starts to braid in because we're all like moving consciousness, moving soul, and we're and sometimes we float out of our body, sometimes we stay in our body.
Right.
So I think it starts braiding in at conception. I don't think it's all 100% there. I think it's slowly starting to merge.
But there obviously is a point where the baby is a being.
Right. And the heartbeat starts at 5 weeks. I think some people said it's 6 weeks, but I did look it up. And
so how many people are turning this podcast off right now? Well, the rest of you that stay. From the other side, we can also understand how...
Well, no, I mean, sorry to interrupt, but I think in that, when I talk about it, I did say that I feel that if you're going to categorize me, I feel like you would categorize me as pro-choice. In that, I feel that we need to have a slow shift for humans to be able to adapt to this concept and this idea. And a lot of people say, don't push your religion on me. Well, you know what? I think you have religion there, and it's actually in the Constitution, is that you have a right to your freedom to have a conscience, and that is right there in the First Amendment, and that's to keep us close to source, or close to God, or close to whatever you believe in,
close to good,
and close to your morals. So if you don't have that, then there's chaos. So you have to have, and it's not saying religion. You don't have to be Christian or Catholic or Baptist or Muslim or spiritual or not realistic. It's just a conversation. When do you think the soul enters the body, and when do you think it's okay to say, you know what, and the world is fucked up?
Well, that was the other point I was going to make. Is
go ahead.
Just to finish that, if you believe that a mother does not have the right to kill her baby after birth, or her toddler, whenever she feels like it, then there is a certain point that we believe within the womb that baby is a being that has its own consciousness, and murdering that is murder. So that's one side of it. Now, the other perspective that we also understand, and that we aligned with for a long time, was this is a really screwed up world. If you have, as Sarah had experiences in her childhood, where if she had gotten pregnant by somebody in her family, that had forced themselves on her, would she want to be forced to have that baby? And so we completely understand the other side of it. And
now with what they're saying in politics, though, is if they're with cases of incest and rape, abortion is
or
legal,
life of the mother.
They will not have an abortion ban, or the life of the mother.
Yeah.
And then in what they're saying in most cases in Europe, when they started this, when they gave it to the different countries, or that most of the people, first trimester abortion is legal, and after that there's more restrictions, and late trimester abortion is illegal.
Which seems totally common sense to us.
And right. And a lot of people were saying, especially on the left, that, late-term abortions don't happen, when that, in fact, is not true. There were, I just told you the number the other day. I was like, I can't remember right now.
It's okay.
88,000, it was something like 9,000. Yeah, there was an amount of late-term abortions that happened after 22 weeks. So you're in 5 months of pregnancies, and some babies, I believe, are born in the 5th and 6th month. So, and they're just saying 6 months to the 9 months. And also, if you do have an abortion, in that period, you obviously have some kind of mental illness, and that was what they found in the studies, that the women that were having these late-term abortions were all saying it's for mental instability. So, you know,
why don't we look at, instead of focusing so much on this topic, because it is so divisive, and I can understand, you know, the Christian conservative right people in this country not being okay with even first-term abortion, but in order to have some kind of a compromise, we do have to bring these kinds of topics back towards the center and allow people, sending it back to the states, allowing people to actually have these conversations and put things on ballots and vote for them. And that's really how our country was set up, was so that the people would be represented. And so far in our lifetimes, we have not really felt that we were represented. We have felt that there was a government that chose to do stuff, and then we had to follow whatever that was. And I think part of this, talking about these subjects that are difficult subjects, is us taking our sovereignty back and taking the power back into our hands to make these kinds of choices for ourselves. And maybe let's look at the conditions that create these sorts of things. Why don't we focus on stopping the rape, stopping the incest, the pedophilia, stopping the
making a better world for babies to live in. If that's the reason you're getting an
poverty,
that,
you know?
Right, that the everything's too expensive and the economy's too hard, and
you're
we
too
can't
poor
afford
to
a
raise
house
this
yet.
baby.
Yeah, and even, you know, normal people who are trying to save up, if you're a new couple and you get pregnant earlier than you expected and you just still don't have a house yet, you know, I could see a lot of people being like, well, we're not quite ready.
And you know, in other cultures, people would stay near their family, so you didn't have to pay a babysitter. You could have your grandparents watch the baby, or your next door neighbors who also have kids. They could watch the kids, then you can watch the kids. So we've lost all sense of community. We've lost a lot of the sense of family. In most cases, family is only one parent. You know, the original two-parent system is not even present. So there's a lot of things that we can start looking at to fix society in order to make these issues less prominent. Because if you have so many people getting abortions, that should say that there is something devastatingly wrong.
But also, I think having it go to the states, I do think that's a brilliant, because that's actually saying the government your federal government doesn't have a say. Let's talk about it. Which is
how the Constitution was set up in the first place.
Yeah, so it's like, let's talk about it amongst the community around like-minded people, and if you don't like it, maybe get more involved in your local government, and then, you know, speak out or go, you know, write petitions or something. If you strongly believe that they are wrong, then, you know,
present your case.
Right. And it's like, okay, so the federal government isn't getting involved, and then it is going to the states, and then, you know, a lot of states for a while, I believe, especially in California and New York, they're going to allow abortion and probably have very limited, if any, restrictions.
And we have also...
So it is going to be I think it's going to be a slow evolution to where people actually come back to where we need to rebuild the planet, or rebuild America, have it be a safe environment for children.
We didn't know we were going to talk about this. Mm-hmm. But I think also, sort of on this topic and other, you know, important shit topics, which is what we were going to call the podcast, is, you know, that we have to stop being a victim culture and a whining culture. And a lot of the social media has been really good for spreading information and sharing ideas, and a lot of it has been really terrible for just supporting bad behavior on people's parts and making it okay to just be a crazy whiny person, you know, and rewarding that. And I think people getting involved in a substantial way will make them feel like they have a voice, where recently their voice has only been heard by complaining on their Instagram channel. And it's like, how about instead of everybody turning on an Instagram channel, they, present their ideas. And I think that's one of the reasons why we wanted to do this podcast is we do have a lot of ideas that we talk about and a lot of perspectives, but we don't have a lot of friends to talk with about the way we feel, because there are so many divides, so we wanted to be able to talk about our ideas. And
but in reality, I think just to finish the topic off, but yeah, I mean, I think in reality what's going to happen is that they'll have, first trimester abortion will be legal, and as it gets later on into the pregnancy, there'll be more and more restrictions. There will be some states where and of course there is going to be birth control. There is going to be, what is it called, the IVF assistance that Trump did say he would have the government pay for, which is wonderful, because a lot of the couples that or thruples or whatever that have trouble getting pregnant, it's because of the infertility.
Well, that's a whole other
thing,
topic.
That they're putting in the food and in the water, and and it's like, so anyway, there won't be any restrictions on those type of things. And I think it's like, use the message will be use birth control, and if you do get pregnant before you're ready, maybe be more conscious about it and check, so you're not getting into your 6th or 8th week of having an abortion. And I kind of get it. It's like, sometimes I would miss my period, or I would go into, I'd miss it like a couple months, so I wouldn't really pay attention.
Well, and
so
as dancers, half the time we didn't have our period anyway because we were starving ourselves. So
right. So I can see how that you can, with some things, it could be scary for some women, but I feel like first, what ends up happening, especially now, first trimester abortion will be legal, and if you can't figure out if you're pregnant in the first 3 months, then you're gonna if you take more pregnancy tests more often, like that, and who would want to have an abortion in the 4th month anyway? You're just
right.
Like, so anyway, so that's probably what's going to happen. If you are in a state where you can't have it after 4 weeks, then you're going to have to travel to another state.
And I'm sorry with the fear porn that people are spreading around, but no conservative person, nobody that's on the side of dealing with abortion in a similar way that we've talked about wants mothers bleeding out on the street, dying because they can't get an abortion. That's false. It's fear porn, and it's being spread around to trick people. It's that trickster energy again into a particular viewpoint. Anyone that's concerned about the life of the baby is obviously also concerned about the life of the mother. So we can get through that piece of the craziness and just say, look, people that want to preserve life, they want to preserve life, period. They don't want a screwed up world, and they don't want screwed up mothers or fathers or kids.
Yeah, Amala Ekpunobi, I would say that's how you say her name, Amala. I watched her channel, and she did a video about how they actually straight out lied about a woman in Georgia who went to another state to get an abortion and died from doctors not treating her. That was just a flat out lie. And the procedure they actually had on her was from a pill that was actually legal in Georgia, in the state that she fled from. She was late for her appointment, so they had to give her a pill instead of do the surgery, and she actually died from the pill, from the abort. So she did not die because doctors were not treating her, and it was a flat out lie. I think that needs to stop in the media. That's what's making the people, that's causing madness. And why are they doing that?
Well, and that
we know why they're doing
there's the responsibility of the media, but there's also the responsibility of the people, of us, to gather information and to use our discernment, and to do it in a calm and collected way. If something is presented to you that's making you feel crazy, it's probably done on purpose. If you're freaking out about something that you heard, it's probably because that thing was intended to freak you out. And, you know, take some time, step back from the issue itself, take a breath, and then do some investigation on our own. You know, if there's something that we're really passionate about, let's make sure to have conversations with people that we don't agree with, and to gather information that we feel is relevant to the topic before we jump to conclusions and spread our crap all over everybody.
I hope Trump does make it illegal, though, for all the media, because that was something that a lot of people were saying.
What illegal?
That the media can't lie to people anymore, that they can't display false information and
well,
twist
not I
the
believe
truth.
this, what the Smith-Mundt Act was about. If I'm not mistaken, that was an act.
It was the Smith-Mundt.
Yeah, it was basically protecting the American people from propaganda. And to my understanding, Obama... Oh, is this out?
No.
Obama, in essence, got rid of the protection by American people or for the American people from propaganda. So essentially, he made it okay for our own government and media to propagandize to us, where it used to be only legal to propagandize to other countries. Like if we told another country we were doing this, but we were really doing that, that's okay because we're trying to protect our national security. But if you lie to your own people as a government, that is a treasonous act, right? So it's they are working for us. We're hiring them to do a job, and then they're lying to us about the job that they're doing. Mm-hmm. That's not supposed to be okay.
You're providing misinformation, and then you're voting on that misinformation that you were given. So yeah,
right. And how can you have a proper voice, you know, if you don't have the proper information? And that's why we're all so confused and divided and crazy right now, is because, you know, the facts that I'm being presented with are different from the facts that my friend who's a hard Democrat is being presented with. We are literally living in two different worlds right now, and we believe that in this important shift that we're going through, mm-hmm. that we have to really focus on bringing all of these different viewpoints towards each other and, you know, find some common ground.
And I think bringing in, you know, I think the big topics that people are upset about with that, you know, abortion, or, you know, the trans movement, you know, which, you know, Taryn and I we're bisexual, so we grew up like tomboys. You know, we were very active and we wanted to be outside.
I didn't grow up like a tomboy.
Climb trees. I thought that you did say that.
No. I was a gymnast.
She said that like one time and then forgets that she said it. But yeah, but you know what I mean? We were very active and liked to hang out with the boys. You hung out with like surfer boys, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think that has anything to do with... I personally don't think that has to do with your gender whatsoever.
But anyway, yeah, I think with what's happening is a lot of, you know, and we were talking about it on the way here in the car about how we used to, you know, as dancers, we grew up around a lot of gay boys, and we, you know, we loved it. You love to have a boy in the class because they get to do the lifts, and you know, their energy is just, you vibe with them. So there's something about, I don't know, girls and gay boys in a dance environment that is just is light and fun. And I think the boy or the man that's in the dance class feels like he's in a safe space, and then you feel happy providing that safe space for him, you know. So we've always had very positive relationships with gay boys. And as we got into Hollywood, we lived there I lived there for 12 years, and Taryn lived there for like 16 years, and you know, so, and it was right near Santa Monica Boulevard, and we would see prostitute trannies. That it was a very popular thing for...
I hate that word. Trannies.
Transgender. Yeah, don't mean any offense if that's offensive. Yeah, transgender prostitutes that were walking down the street in Santa Monica, and they were just destroyed. Like, obviously, came from broken homes, and they were junkies, and they were
probably sexually
homeless
abused.
and sexually abused, and
and we're not saying that just because of the trans aspect. Most homeless kids, especially in Hollywood, are drug addicts have been abused, and that's just a straight up statistic.
Are a product of a broken home. And they, I came to numerous times where my mental, if I didn't have Taryn and rage, I would have been homeless and would have been crazy and a junkie, and on a very lost path if I didn't have somebody kind of keeping me a safe place where I felt, so if you don't have stability at home, of course you're gonna go out and do something like that. And so I can see how that happens. But anyway, it was just saying that I think seeing that, and then when we did a show, and there was we did it with guys that wanted to dress up as women.
In our world, as dancers, we grew up with the term and the character of drag queens, and that for us was a really fun, it was for us, we like dressing up. We there are times when a woman dresses up where she could actually be doing a very similar process of what a drag queen does, transforming herself into this very feminine, fun character. So they felt, anyway, we would get ready together with them in the dressing room, and we were thinking about it, wasn't in the bathroom or the dressing room, but anyway, they were really modest and really cool and really down to earth and not showy or not pushing their feeling of this is how I am and you need to accept it. They woke up and they wore a dress and they were putting on makeup, and they were really just like we did.
They were
no different.
They were our favorite people to hang out with before the show. And it was like, and I was like, I think they went in the women's bathroom. I'm pretty sure, but we couldn't really remember, and it wasn't a big deal.
Pay attention to it. It wasn't a big deal. We didn't care.
But they weren't, it was because they weren't weird and creepy and angry. And they were just like, okay, like if if you're, and then Taryn was talking about if there's creepy and weird people in the bathroom, if you're a guy or a girl or whatever, we're going to kick you out of the bathroom. I don't care what you are.
Right. If I'm in a female bathroom and there's a woman in there being creepy and hitting on me or doing something strange or staring at me, if I'm, changing in the woman's dressing room, I'm going to feel offended or, I forget the word, but the same way I would if it was a man in the bathroom. So it's not from our perspective, and of course there is something to men being more physically dangerous to a woman than another woman, but what we're talking about is the sexuality part of it. Is for us, it's not about the sexuality, also because we are bisexual, but it's not about the sexuality, it's about the aggression or the creepiness aspect to it. And we know and truly believe that a lot of this trans push and gender ideology push was about pedophilia, and that's a huge jump and claim for a lot of people to get their head around.
Yeah,
but
most people were probably like, well, how do you see that?
Right. And so normalizing, and that's something where if you've done any research into the child trafficking and the pedo networks that are going to be unveiled, and you've looked at the Epstein files and the P. Diddy information and the underground tunnel kind of stuff, if you've gone down any rabbit holes, you will know that there's a huge aspect to this, quote, deep state that, that's 4 planes flying in formation. That's cool.
Oh, military help.
That this deep state has been engaged in this human trafficking and child trafficking. That's so cool. And
so yeah, and I think what ends up happening is the deep state tries to normalize human behavior. And they, for women, growing up, if you see,
normalize bad, evil human
yes,
behavior.
Right. They normalize a behavior.
Sure. You got any hot topics you want to talk about?
Like money, right?
It's not hard to find, though.
Exactly.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, that may be our first interviewee.
Very funny. We're on Hermosa Beach, and it was a cool
Looks like
family that just walked by.
Yeah.
That seemed
Mom and dad and 2 daughters or something.
Yeah, lots of hot topics out these days. But yeah,
not to go too crazy down the rabbit hole with that one, but there, like, as we were talking about the abortion topic, you could look at, if you look from the perspective of the deep state does these horrible satanic rituals to children, well, if you get people used to aborting their babies in the last trimester, what's the difference between that and a newborn? You can see where they try to blur the lines and use that trickery energy to get you confused about, well, the baby just doesn't really, they don't know what's going on, so it's okay. They're not really thinking yet. So they start to push the boundaries into this crazy bad behavior kind of a place where you stop understanding the difference between good and evil. And
I think I was going to go into, basically, Taryn and I, we used to do our makeup every day. Like, it was kind of like you had to do your hair and makeup before you go out. And partially that was from the dance stuff, but not really. It was, the magazines we'd see growing up, and you're like, you feel that you're not your best, or you're not, and it goes into you're not good enough if you're not, wearing like your day makeup or your full face of makeup. Oh, this is not the same one. I think see a formation of 4 military helicopters. There's been a lot of helicopters out lately.
Those are airplanes.
But no, I know that.
Oh, you said helicopters.
No, I was talking about earlier. You've seen a lot of military helicopters and planes and things.
Yeah, well, we hope something's going on.
So see, that reaction, how I react is I have a programming that, because I did trick myself into thinking that I was dumb. So if someone points out that I'm dumb, then I get triggered. So recognizing that kind of behavior, that's really subtle and hard to do. So Taryn likes to joke with me if I say the wrong word, and then I take it as she's calling me stupid.
Yep. And that's something that we as a couple have worked on for a long time, and it's still something we work on. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
But anyway, so with that programming, so easily they can trick girls and teenage girls. It's like you're 12 or 13, right? And you're putting makeup on your face, and you think that that's how you can get a boy, and it's like boys don't care about that.
Right.
Or shaving your legs or any of that. And I stopped shaving my legs because I was like, this is a program that
Not because you're a lesbian.
And, even I think Taryn and Rage felt weird about it, and maybe still do. But, I was like...
Felt weird about what?
Not shaving my legs.
No, we didn't.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that was me projecting then.
Yeah, no, we didn't. We actually told you, what is the big deal?
Yeah.
I think felt weird for a lot longer than you thought you would. And I think that's the thing, is we go through these processes of changing something in our life to get rid of the programming, but then sometimes we project onto somebody else that they want us to do it again. That oh, well, I should wear makeup because I look tired. Like, Sarah didn't wear makeup to work one day, and one of her coworkers told her that she looked tired just because she didn't have her normal black eyeliner on. So, we do have this situation where even if we're trying to shift and change our own behavior, it still can be reinforced by society that we shouldn't change that thing, but it's not it's not always that. Sometimes it's us projecting that onto people. And
so, and yeah, you have to take responsibility. Like, there was something where I would get triggered if I thought that a guy hit on me or was staring at me, and it used to be very common for guys to whistle at girls, and I feel like they, unless we're just older now, but it's like I feel like they don't do it anymore, because like they're like, you used to walk by and like workers, if they're working on something, would whistle at girls. And then
I do think we are older and we probably don't get it as much as young girls would, but I do think the environment has changed too, with all the feminist stuff and all of that, is that it's not, it's considered toxic masculinity to act like that now.
And I think it was, I started to feel like it was invasive, and it was when I was processing some of the deep gravels of my trauma, and it felt painful if a guy hit on me, not a girl, but it had to be if it was a guy that hit on me. And one guy whistled, and I like lashed out at him. Was like, don't you do that, you stop doing that, you sick, and I just was really mean to him. And Taryn and I looked at each other, and I was like, that was really weird. And it was like, and we're in a world where today, now that man would have to apologize to me, even though I lashed out at him. And it's like, no, I had to recognize I was out of line and I was mean, and he's just being a dude and just being like, oh, you're cute, and we're in a world today where people are apologizing to other people for their traumatic outlashes and their traumatic energetic vomiting, and it's like, okay, yeah, you feel attacked because this person did this, and but process your trauma. But
you're not really mad in that kind of a situation. You're not mad at the guy who's whistling at you, really. You're mad at the people who made you feel scared of that kind of behavior. And it's not to say that men should go around whistling at women all day long. That might be something that's old and outdated, and that's fine. But that doesn't mean that you have the right to lash out at someone like that just because you yourself had a trauma that was completely unrelated to that person. He didn't actually do anything to you except whistle, And for someone to get really mad at that, it's like, well, you're actually mad at the people who actually abused you. And, we all have that. We're all suffering from one abuse or another. And I truly believe that. If you weren't physically abused, somewhere along the line, you were emotionally abused. You can't live in this world that we've been living in without having some kind of abuse or stress-related self-hatred or something. And it's a lot of what we talk about is just taking responsibility for your own, we'll use the word right now, healing in those areas, so that when we interact with each other, we're not triggered all the time. And I think a lot of the social media kind of stuff right now is all about allowing people to be triggered constantly. Like, 100% of the time you're triggered about this or that, or, race or religion or sexuality or gender or whatever it is.
And people are getting positive responses for their triggered responses. And it's like, no, I don't want to see you crying about something in a hysteria.
Even the Trump win, come on, yeah, it sucks for you that you didn't support Trump and that you fell into the crazy Democrat trap. But if you go on your social media blubbering like a freaking idiot because you're so devastated that Kamala didn't win, you just make yourself look dumb.
And it's not just, sorry, it's not a real crying. You're not crying about this reality. You're
fake victim energy,
and we're familiar with that. It's like, you get into a hysteria, and it's like someone just needs to tell them, dude, you're not in your rational mind. And it's like, if you're genuinely crying because you're happy, or you see something that makes you sad, fine. But
right, if you're crying because you're sad,
but if you're crying to,
but if you're crying because you're hysterical
and trying to get
person,
likes, and then people give you likes, and then you think that you are good for posting this, like, no, like, and that's kind of, you're getting rewarded for these triggered behaviors, and someone, you need to fix these. And my concern is that if they continue to get rewarded for these behaviors, they will never fix them, and then they'll keep going and moving on into their adult life and just be worse than the generation before them. It's like, if you don't actually process your trauma and work through it and then become a better person, you're going to become a worse person.
Right. So I think a lot of this shift, the important shift energy that we're talking about, the thing that weaves through all of these topics for us is really taking personal responsibility for your own healing, finding processes that work for you. Not every healing modality works for everybody. Some people really love Reiki, and some people don't believe in it whatsoever. If you don't believe in it, it's not going to work for you. Same goes with medical intervention of any kind. And there's sound therapies, there's yoga, there's meditation, there's guided meditations, there's group drum circles, there's all kinds of things people can do to process their stuff and lift their energy.
And I think just be open. Just start one. Pick something. The first thing that you find that you're guided to, start it, and then
even tarot cards
transmute. Yeah,
tarot cards are doing the
or seeing an astrologer, having someone read your stars for
right.
you.
And what does our friend do? She does they're not tarot cards, but the like spirit. What do they call them? The spirit cards or something, where you pick the card and it has a message and a beautiful image, and then you can feel into that image and really kind of see what messages your guides and your higher self are sending to you at that moment. It's similar to using the pendulum. We sometimes use the pendulum to ask questions. The pendulum is a ridiculously amazing tool, and if you've never used one, try one. Find someone that has one, or go to a store where you can just try it out.
Oracle
cards, that's it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the pendulum work is really incredible, because when you hold it and you ask a yes or no question and you get a yes, and you absolutely know that you are not shaking that thing to make it say yes, it's just happening. It's something that it really it makes you understand that there's a lot more at work than just us and our conscious mind. It could be that it's your unconscious, or it could be that it's your guides and your spirit team and your angels.
And I feel like people embracing that, once you start to embrace your spiritual journey, it starts to awaken different abilities. I just saw a white streak of light.
Yeah, Sarah sees lights and orbs and things in the fourth dimension.
Yeah. So I feel
them, she sees them.
It started happening after I kind of got through the other side of processing my trauma. But I was just saying that, yeah, I feel like once people embrace this spiritual transformative journey, their abilities and talents and passions will start to unveil. And I feel like the artistic the artistic consciousness is going to raise on the planet, and that's really what we're supposed to be doing. And Taryn and I fought to be dancers, and even though all of the cards are stacked against us, and everybody, and her dad and my dad both were like, you're not going to make any money at this, and
they were like, right.
Yep, we know, but you know what? If I want to dance, I should be able to dance. And it's
hopefully we're moving into a world where your gifts and talents will be the thing that you're allowed to do to make money, instead of having to have a job and then do your passion on the side. That's something that, we believe we're moving towards pretty quickly as we move towards the fourth and fifth dimensional energies.
There's so many arts, right? It's like,
But to go back real quick to what Sarah was saying about the your gifts and talents, your innate, besides the artistic part, we're talking a little bit more about the spiritual aspects. Those parts of you are oftentimes muddled and locked down because of your traumas. And as we move through healing these unseen influences, as James Gilliland calls it, healing your unseen negative influences, meaning your attachments with the entities that have been attached to you from different traumas, and healing he calls it the wrong conclusions of the past. So something that you had a trauma about, like something happened to you when you were a child, and now you've decided that you have to treat people this way because of that. Once you get through all of that stuff, you start having these more spiritual experiences where, like Sarah unlocked her third eye. She can see pretty clearly with her eyes open and in her third eye into the fourth dimensions and the higher dimensions. And I think my channeling came through after I really got through this extended near-death experience. But we can turn a lot of these horrible experiences around and make them beautiful spiritual unlocking experiences for our gifts.
Yeah, I mean there's so many, telekinesis or remote viewing or
Telepathy.
like flying, telepathy, what is it, levitating, like different traveling, jumping through your astral and being able to travel with your mind outside of your body.
Astral projection and
it's like there's so many.
Remote viewing.
Yeah, and I feel like it'll start to unlock more abilities that we don't even know about yet, or that haven't even been created yet. And it's like
it's a fun way of looking at healing is like the healing is the first step on the path to amazing things. And if you look at the aspect of opening up your fifth and sixth, your sixth senses, your psychic energy and your third eye and your astral body, and being able to use these different things like telepathy and all of these fun things.
I just thought of warging. We're rewatching the Game of Thrones
for the fifth time or something, because there's nothing on TV anymore that is worth watching. It's all terrible. So we're watching Game of Thrones again, and the warging where
we do believe our cat can warg into like the birds here. Like we'll all of a sudden feel like a bird will come over, and we'll feel like it's our cat. And
like he's acting like our cat, and like our cat is dreaming, but he actually jumped into the body of this bird
visit us,
to come hang out with us at the beach.
Which might be a far stretch, but you know what I mean. But you have to start thinking like that in order to really create
a little bit of magical
abilities.
Thinking is okay, right?
Well, right. I mean, if you're talking about these things that seem crazy, you're talking about telekinesis, that you can move something with your mind. Like, why not? Why can't your cat come visit you and another bird?
And when I first started, allowing the channeling to come through, like I never thought. I have listened to so many channelers. I've been on, the whole time I was going through this illness, I was listening to ascension stuff and secret space program stuff and going down all the rabbit holes, and especially listening to channelers. And I never thought it was something that I would be able to do, but I always wanted to. I thought it was really cool. And I think that's part of it. Part of being able to do something is wanting to do it and thinking it's cool. If you think telepathy is cool, you'll probably start having telepathic experiences, because just the positive vibration of liking something and accepting it as a possibility, it starts to bring it closer to you. And I think these are things that we can start playing around with, that we're excited about. Mm-hmm. So I think that's good. We didn't have a plan for today, and that's sort of how it went. We'll be talking about a lot of different topics and weaving, stuff that's going on politically into more spiritual topics. If you like this podcast and you want to tell us about any topics that you'd like addressed, we can definitely take some suggestions.
Yeah, you can leave us a comment if you want us to talk about something. You know, we're relatively new. It's the first one.
Although we've been talking about this stuff together for years now, so.
But yeah, we're excited to share our experience and share our thoughts with you. And yeah, you can check out the rest of our channels. You know, for the different areas that we express. You know, with Taryn's channeling and with my tonic toning and music
and our guided meditations.
So,
and even some of our hula hooping videos. and the crystal bowl, you know, well, that's the tonic toning, but we also do the hand pan and crystal bowl kind of jams on the beach as well. We do a lot of stuff on the beach.
Yeah, so I think
we'd also be interested in having a guest. If somebody would like to come chat with us, we could do that too. So
yeah, you can always DM us if you have any questions or you know, on any of the topics that we talk about. I think we're open to conversations, you know, unless you want to, you know, just spray some hate at us, then, you know, just be kind and collective. If you have if it's a controversial topic and you want to share an experience that, you know, you feel that you want to be heard about, just be polite, please. If you have any kind of spraying of hate,
we're not about negative dark energy here, so you can keep that
but be
to yourself.
Honest, you know. You can be honest and say, I disagree with this because
we're totally
of this,
fine with that,
because that's how we you know, get to expand and learn from each other
all the time.
Yeah,
but we usually end up finding a common ground, and you can still allow for variations of agreement, but the whole point of this podcast and kind of what we want to do with people is to bring people back into a place where we are connecting on the things that we can agree on and calmly discussing the things that we don't. So yeah, we hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. We will see you on the next one.